topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, I'm Shelby Wagner, host of Learning to Dance in the Rain, a conversation about dealing with difficult issues in life and with learning to react with resilience. I hope that's what I'm doing here today, is acting with resilience. But anyway, today's show is a very interesting show called Crypto Deception, and it's one man's journey through a cryptocurrency scam. And my guest is Jeff Ford, who is currently living in Southern California and apparently grew up not far from me here in Michigan, near Detroit. He has 2 children and 1 granddaughter. After a long corporate career in the automotive industry, he was laid off during the recession and started his own business in pools and landscaping. Wow, get you to do a pool for me. After enjoying success for about 10 years, he sold that business about 2 years ago. He's unmarried, wow, and active in his local church. And he recently returned from a 6-month volunteer role in North Africa, where he was helping young entrepreneurs launch new businesses. Welcome, Jeff Ford. I'm glad to see you today. I'm glad to meet you finally.
Oh,
how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Oh, very good. Very good. So we were just discussing that you lived near 8 Mile and north of Detroit before moving to California?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
And I lived in Auburn Hills. That's where I grew up. And then after married, I moved to Oxford, and then I moved to Tennessee, and then back to Michigan over on the southwest side of the state this time.
Well,
So anyway,
I enjoyed living there very much.
Right. So we were talking about the 8 Mile Road. You want to mention that a little bit? That was a movie, or?
Yes, that was a movie about actually about a rapper, and it was very popular for a while, but no one outside of Michigan would realize what 8 Mile Road means. But if you're from Michigan, I lived in a wealthy suburb of Detroit, west of Detroit, and I volunteered to do work with the Detroit Teen Challenge, where I was helping these broken people regain the footing and a foundation in their life. So I was doing a volunteer course helping them with their finances. None of them had any background in balancing checkbooks, or and many of them were leaving the program with huge amounts of debts and unpaid alimony and the rest. So I was trying to help them. Ironically, I guess now as I look back, trying to help these other people with their finances, I guess later on I was self-victimized, I guess, with my own experience with finances.
And that's kind of the reason we're here today, right? I mean, right. I was scammed too, and that's why I wrote my book and started this podcast, so that we could give information and insights into what has become an extremely difficult social issue and financial, hasn't it, in the last 5 years?
Yes, certainly.
I guess I was kind of on the beginning of that, because my first time I was scammed was in 2017, and And yours was more recent, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So would you like to tell us how how did you get interested in cryptocurrencies and that particular investment?
Well, I wasn't actually. I
Okay.
wasn't interested in it so much, but the way it started, I I didn't recognize any of the red flags or the issues, and frankly, I was more uh, wanting to believe the truth of what I was hearing than being realistic. I was being naive, and I wanted to believe what was impossible to believe. Right?
Oh, I wanted to believe too.
Yes. So I don't know if you want me to tell a little bit about how it started, but
Yes, but let's start right from the beginning.
sure.
Was it a romance scam to begin? I
Well,
mean,
it was.
sorry.
I guess I would call it a romance scam. It was. It began with an approach through a text message, I believe, and it was again. I didn't know anything about how these things started, but basically, this person contacted me saying something about, "Do you want your package delivered tomorrow or today?" or something like that.
Whoa, okay.
And so then I responded, "I'm not sure if I know you or what you're talking about."
Mhm.
And then this person, whose name was Alina, supposedly, she said, "Well, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number." And then, of course, my curiosity, I'm wondering who she is. And so then I began a dialogue with her. Now, this began last August, just before my birthday. So August 2023. And so we began a dialogue. And over the course of several months, uh, we exchanged hundreds of text messages back and forth. And it wasn't, frankly, it wasn't sexual. It was a friendship kind of acquaintance. We compared, favorite movies. I sent pictures of the books that I'm reading. We had long theological text messages back and forth about uh, my faith and her lack of faith, and pros and cons and the rest. So we really built what I thought, of course, was a very trusting relationship. We were sharing things with each other that uh, we anyway, I thought we wouldn't share with anyone else. I learned from her that she had a toxic relationship with a husband, and she divorced, and she really wanted to have kids. And um, I shared with her some of my experiences in relationships, and they were very intimate and sometimes very entertaining, and um, yeah, very private conversations. And I I really was totally enamored with the relationship, and I became uh, there really wasn't a single day that would go by where we wouldn't exchange between 2 and 10 text messages. And this happened over a course of about 3 months. So
Mhm.
September, October, November. Yeah. So around the 3 month period of time, I and she texted me about how her uncle is involved with investing in Hong Kong. He has a whole staff of advisors, and they have been very successful in investing. She never asked me for any money. She never asked to join to do an account with her, but she invited me to participate in, not only with her but also with these other friends of hers that she had let in on this information. So I opened an account um, with Interactive. I think it's I forgot, Interactive Brokers. I think it IBKR, and around actually right around Thanksgiving, she encouraged me to invest in this one stock that her uncle had said was going to do really well, which in retrospect, well, I'll just tell you what happened. I transferred a bunch of money. I transferred all of my IRA, so $60,000 or so, into this account, invested all of it. Plus I margined it, invested all of it into this stock because she was so confident it was going to do well. And it tanked within days. And so I saw a $60,000 loss in one day with my account. And so that is what is referred to classically as a ramp and dump scheme, where they basically invite all this money into one stock and then they sell earlier and apparently take the profits. And meanwhile, all our money is sucked out of it in that case. So what, so after this, then the conversation was more like, she felt so bad about my loss and she felt so sorry for this. And by the way, she, I let her in that I have 2 kids. I have a granddaughter. She would always ask about my granddaughter. She would want me to show her pictures and videos of her. So she felt so bad that I lost this, that she volunteered that she would send $40,000 into the account just to replenish it. Well, of course, I believe that, but it was illusory. It wasn't it didn't actually go into the account. So, cut me off, Shelby, if I'm going too long. So,
okay, no, we've got half an hour.
Okay. So I was then encouraged to open a different account so that I could trade in cryptocurrency with this account, crypto.com. And again, she helped fund it, supposedly. I downloaded the app. The app looked totally realistic, where it had live feeds going across it. It had a helpline. Everything looked perfectly duplicated to an actual investment website. And so she wanted to help me regain this loss. So with this seed money that she sent into the account, plus additional money that I sent in, we started trading, and I saw this account on my phone go from 100 to 200 to $360,000 in a matter of within a matter of a month, right close to right at the beginning of the year. So I thought, wow, this is incredible that I'm seeing this much return. I'm seeing it right there on my phone, the $360,000 going across there. Mm-hmm. And so, and we continued our conversations. We were, exchanging messages and back and forth and still maintaining our relationship. And, but I, in my mind, I thought, this is amazing. I'll be able to pay off my mortgage with this here soon. So I was sharing some of this with my family, but I didn't fortunately encourage any of them to get involved with this. But my sister has said, you might want to pull out some of that money to replenish what you had taken from your IRA, just to have that taken out and off the table, which was good advice, I thought. And so did Alina. She said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't you do that? Well, then I applied for a withdrawal, and I got an email from crypto.com. Hey, we're really glad that you're participating and that you're part of this company, and we appreciate your business. Yes, we'd be happy to withdraw the money for you and send you the proceeds. And by the way, this is letterhead, everything looking perfectly legitimate. Mm-hmm. However, I did notice that in the verbiage, in the writing, some of the words were awkward and the sentence structure was a little bit odd, which I'm very I'm very sensitive to that. So I thought it was a sign that I chose not to recognize, but early on I could tell that there was something not right with the way it was written.
Right.
So anyway, this is where it all started falling apart, because I attempted to make a withdrawal. And the first email was, because you have experienced significant gains in your account, you need to send in $50,000 or so to the IRS to pay the taxes that you owe on these gains before we release the funds. I thought, well, no problem. Let's just take it out of the funds. But you can't take it out of the funds in the account. It has to be from outside the account, and they provided the address for me to send the money to. So I contacted, the first time I did it, I got a second on my house to pay the $50,000 and paid it, because I thought, well, shoot, okay, fine. I understand tax obligations. I got $360,000 in the account anyway. So I paid it. And then I received, by the way, they also, a couple tips. And a friend of mine said that, he said, you're getting a second on the house, but when does the IRS ever ask you for taxes before the year is completed? And why would you only have a limited amount of, because they gave me a deadline of like 10 days to submit the funds, right? So other people are seeing these things that I'm not seeing. Well, I sent in, let me summarize the rest of the downside here. I sent in the first $50,000 on a second, and then I got another letter saying, because you were late, you're subject to fines of $12,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Now, in this
Uh-huh.
case, Alina was aware of that, so she covered that fine. She said, let me pay the fine.
Wow. She was very generous, wasn't she?
Oh, yes, she was. And anyway, then I got another note saying that because of the political instability political issues between the government of Singapore and the US, you need to provide another $50,000 in a deposit to have that audited and approved before we withdraw funds. Well, then I went to my sister and borrowed $50,000 from my sister. That was the second item. And then another $50,000 request for a different reason. I borrowed that from my brother. So I was really in deep already, so then the final one was, they wanted $70,000. So they upped the ante to $70,000 before this was going to be released for a different reason. Well, at this point, I had already exhausted all the pockets that I could. My brother, my sister, a second of there's no way I was going to pay that or be able to pay it. Fortunately, because I would have sent it in. And it wasn't until I shared that I was at my personal trainer. This is one of the things I hadn't mentioned to you before, Shelby, but I was at my personal trainer, and I was telling her my frustration with this, withdrawing these funds. And she said, that doesn't sound right. That sounds fishy. And she shared this story of her stepmother with a romance scam with a guy, and she went on Dr. Phil and discovered that it was a scam. And then I thought, wait a minute, is it possible that I've been scammed on this? And it took me 2 days to actually realize that these were all signs that I saw that I totally ignored. And yes, in fact, I was scammed. And I continued the relationship with her for a while because I thought, well, maybe if I keep her active and involved online, maybe we can track something down. But I can tell you more about that if you want, but at the end of the day, I called her and I said, Alina, we had a really trusting relationship, and I've lost all this money now. I'd like you to return it. and, and of course, I was, I knew that the chances of that were just about nil. But I thought, well, I thought I asked. Well, she was really upset that I was accusing her of lying and being deceptive. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
of course, before I had that last conversation, I downloaded all of Telegram onto my computer, so I had all the communications saved. But they disappeared. She disappeared. The account disappeared,
Mhm.
and it was gone. So was my
Wow.
money.
Yeah. Oh my, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And it is very similar, parallel to my own experience. This man contacted me on LinkedIn. Can you?
Oh
Um,
wow.
and it was a few weeks of chatting, texting every day, and oh yeah, and then finally he tells me he had earned enough money. Have you ever heard of Bitcoins? And I said no. And he had been able to make enough money to buy his mother a house. And I had all this stuff from my publishing of my, not publishing, but more marketing my book. I had a very strong salesperson at Ex Libris Publishing Company, and I wanted to get that, you know, make the money back to pay. I had loaned myself the money from my home equity line of credit.
Mm.
I had hoped to get it back, and so I didn't. I let him open. He told me how to buy the bitcoins, and then
Mm.
he suggested that I put them in this investment company. I checked everything out, and boy, it sounded looked the it was crypto. Let's see, crypto investment, but it was a FXT. It was different. I think the real one is FTX, and
Mm.
this FXT, but I didn't catch that. It was kind of a little bit of an annoying nag in my stomach that it was not exactly what it was supposed to be.
Mm. Yeah.
But anyway, and then right on the website, it gave me all this stuff, testimonials, and it said withdrawals were immediate. So I borrowed money from a home equity line of credit to start the account with 10,000. So I didn't have the kind of money that you're talking about, but 10,000 to me was a lot. And
Sure.
then if I could get another 10,000 in by the end of November, I would be doubling my money. Ooh, oh, that sounded pretty good. 20,000. That would help me pay down that debt that I was wanting to pay, and so on. So, and like you, I had the computer screen. Yeah, right on my computer. He brought it up. And I saw my money go. I did that twice, two bonuses. So it was 30,000, and all borrowed
Yeah.
my home equity line. And then I saw it double. It was 60,000. Oh boy. So I'm going to take out my 30,000, pay back my home equity line of credit,
There we go. Right.
when I found out. But here was the kicker there. First, that's when they told me there was some hoops I had to jump under. One of them was I had to get three people to deposit each $1,000 in their account.
Oh my gosh.
I
Mm.
said, why didn't you tell me this before I started? And I told James, that was his name. Why wait till now? Oh, I'll help you get it out. Okay, blah blah blah. Well, sure. So what I refused. I said no. If you had given me my money, my 30,000, without a problem, I wouldn't have any trouble recommending my friends.
Right.
But now you're throwing this at me, and no way I'm going to do that. And we went roundabout. And then it was another little hoop that they would do alternatively. I wouldn't do. No, I won't do that either. So I had given them I had one checking account that had $10 in it. And I thought, well, they can't steal much from me from that account if they had the numbers. So I gave them the numbers, and and then I saw it go into the account on the computer. Oh boy, 3 checks for $5,000. That's 15. That's at least half. That's good. But what happened? It went in there, and the next morning I was checking it, and there was a lock on my account.
Mm.
And I said, "What?" So I called the bank. And she said, "Just a minute." And a man came on the phone, and he says, "Miss Wagner?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "We just received these 3 checks. Each was $5,000 to go into your account, and they are fake."
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And that was my first red flag. So
Yeah.
we talked a bit. He had been a Michigan State patrolman before. He had been gotten his job as a fraud, whatever, on
Mm.
a credit union account that it was. And I said, "Well, what do I do now?" And he said, "Don't talk to him anymore." And I said, "Should I report it to police?" He says, "Well, you can report it to the police, but they're not going to do anything. They can't do anything about it."
Yeah.
And so I did that. I mean, I did report it. What happened was I went into the police department to report it, and they said they'd send an officer over to take my story. They never showed up.
Yeah.
But I went to my bank that had my real accounts in it, or my full automatic deposits and everything, and I told them about this experience because I wanted them to be aware that somebody might be going after my accounts there since this other thing had happened.
Mm.
So I was upfront and honest about the whole thing, and what happened was later on, and I did not stop with the Omni. I didn't stop talking to him because James deserted me, totally left. I couldn't get a hold of the other 2 people that had been helping me. And then I met someone who said he was a financial broker with Bitcoins, and he was in London, and he could get my money out of that company. Well, that was BS because then I lost a lot more.
Oh
Just
gosh.
like you, making the deposits.
Yeah.
Compared to you, I didn't lose all of that. But at 82, I don't have much chance to earn it back any other way. So I declared bankruptcy, Chapter
Mm.
13. And so I've been paying. I'm almost 2 years into it. I got another year. And I says, I don't think I'll ever be able to see it completely paid off. I mean, I hope, praise God, maybe I will be, but who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, everything was authentic. I mean, he told me this link that would take me into that dashboard so I could see the lights flashing in the stocks going and selling and buying and everything. And I
Mhm.
watched my account go up to 300,000,
Yeah. Gosh.
but I couldn't get it out.
Yep.
Do you
Sounds
know,
so.
and this all happened in 2022, 21 and 22. And I got something from this FTX, the real company that they were going bankrupt. And I got to thinking about it again. So I went back, and by golly, that other website is still there. It shows I have $30,000 in that account, but I can't get it out.
Yep.
I have no way to get it out. And it's not the right company. I mean, it's the FXT rather than the FTX or something. I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, so they're very good at what they do. And it's
Well,
still
we misjudge, and we're so naive about the capabilities of being fooled, and also the technology that's used is so advanced and sophisticated that, yeah, you know, so I'm sure you went through this. Sounds like you went through this too, Shelby. After I began having some doubts, I have a friend of mine who used to work in the banking industry, and I said, David, let's meet because I just want to show this to you. And he fortunately had been working with the fraud department of the bank. I went and met him, showed him my phone, showed him the app. He said, it's a fake app. He immediately knew it was a fake app.
Oh, he did.
And I of course, like you're seeing the real-time quotes going across. There's a helpline that you can contact. You can see your balance, and everything was
Mm-hmm.
duplicated.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and there's a good chance also that some of these, like crypto.com, we don't even know if some of these companies are legitimate. You know, they may have be in on the whole scam themselves. And I also went to the police and reported it, and there was, just because I remember them very clearly, I didn't get any report for nothing was done for 2 weeks. And finally I went in and I said, listen, if somebody was robbed of $100,000 from their house, how long would it take you to investigate this? And now it's been 2 weeks and you haven't done anything with it. He said, sorry, there's no one we can prosecute. That was their answer. But like I filed with the police, I filed with the FBI, I filed with the ITC. I considered hiring one of these scam recovery companies to track down money. But fortunately, thanks in part to some of the articles I read in Forbes and with Aaron West and the rest, I didn't do that. But they were very aggressive, and stay away from them, because if they want any money up front, then they're taking it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. The only ones that are getting rich are the criminals.
Yeah.
I was taking 3 years ago, before all of that happened, I was taking a get booked on media class online, and it was legitimate. It was put out by Jack, the author of the oh golly, can you, my chicken soup series?
Oh yeah.
So I know it was, and I had to come up with a hook, for my book, or a hook, and I was having an awful time for that, and I finally hit on one that said, "Stop feeding the criminals." I thought that was pretty cool. So I was practicing. I was sitting in line at McDonald's, and I was practicing. Stop feeding the criminals. Stop feeding the criminals. Stop feeding the animals. Ooh, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what? I'm 79 years old at that time. Hey, I can use that. I can say, stop feeding the animals. I mean, criminals.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I had a hook, but that's exactly what we got to keep telling people is, you're feeding them. Not only are you feeding them, you're giving all those swimming pools, beautiful places. Have you watched The Beekeeper yet?
Yes, that's it was funny because I sat down with my significant other and we watched it, and the opening scenes, of course, she turned to me, she said, "Are you okay with watching this?"
I began to wonder if I was.
Yeah, but it's real, and of course, it was great fun to watch the whole enterprise blown up.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, I was rooting.
But yeah, you know what? I'll tell you though, in retrospect, first of all, I learned how naive and vulnerable I can be, and anybody can be in this kind of situation, because whether it's promises of unbelievable gains or romance or friendship, or they will find the hot button for you, and you are vulnerable. I was vulnerable. I mean, I'm a smart guy. I went to USC and studied economics. I'm a smart guy. I'm not naive, but I certainly was in this case. But I guess, I know it's hard to think in these terms right when you're in the middle of it, but in retrospect, it's only money. Nobody died in my family because of this. I can earn the money back. I can go back to work, even though I wasn't really planning on doing it. It teaches me how I need to trust God for my provision, and He's always provided in the past. And that's the perspective I've gained from it. And I'm starting a new career now that I never thought I would start, and I suspect that direction might be something I was meant to do. So, but it's a painful trauma. It's really hard, and I don't wish it on anybody. And that's why, yeah, the beekeeper certainly hit home for me, and I
Okay.
don't wish it on anybody.
My significant other, he kept saying, "Well, I don't see how anybody could do this." I says, I'm sitting right here next to you, and I did it. You know that I'm not stupid. And yeah, I have a master's degree and 2 bachelor's degrees. I mean, I taught school, elementary school. Yeah, but who thought at 82 I'd have a new career
Right.
right here doing this? So I don't know what year is, but like a man said at the comedy show the other night, I went to that Beth Allen's birthday party. Of course, everybody there knew she had been scammed. They told me, "Oh, yeah, he knows I'm scammed, Shelby. You can talk to him." So I told him a little bit about my podcast and my book and so on and why. And he says, "Well, you're doing a really good work for the world.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be stopped." And at least I'm putting myself out there. And I thank you very much for coming and telling your story. I know when I asked you, you didn't know if you were quite ready yet, because when this all happened just a few months ago, and talking about that emotional impact.
Well, I'll tell you, I have to confess that even to this day, I know that Alina, her birthday's coming up July 25th, and I can't help but wonder if will she contact me outside of this and apologize. And I mean, Shelby, there were points where she wanted to have a family, so there's a software. I'll just give you this one example. She took my picture and her picture, and there's a software that you can use to show what your baby will look like.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
so she sent me
oh
two
my
different
goodness.
ones in case the baby looks more like her or the baby looks more like him.
Mm.
Just enmeshing me even more in the emotional investment in this, and yeah, even now I still have a lingering wish or fantasy that actually there might have been some real people and real feelings involved, but it's it's
But
uh
do
it's not.
you know, or have you met this person, this Eileen, at all? Or
No,
she?
well, I did see her on video. We had video chats a few times, but very few times, and they were brief. She had promised to be coming to LA. She lived in San Francisco supposedly, and she was going to visit me in San Francisco. She'd filmed a gift that she had gotten for me, a Rolex watch that
Oh,
she was
wow.
supposedly going to give me. And
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, there's definitely some residual emotional stuff that you have
But
to move
it's
past.
right. It was like on the first one 5 years ago, when, or in 17. Um, I yeah, I didn't meet in person this guy, but we were talking. He was, "Well, when we get married on our honeymoon, we're going to take a cruise around the world," you
Hmm.
know? And I was in a daze. Um, I even bought some clothes. I was in Florida for a week vacation, and I went shopping and I bought some clothes for my honeymoon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that didn't happen with the currency one, but still, it did happen, and it was hard to get over that. And I didn't intend to tell anybody. I mean, in that case, the person knew he had found my strength. I
Yeah.
mean, my weakness. And
Yeah.
my weakness was had been attacked in Hong Kong. He was left for dead. They took his wallet, his passport. He didn't have any money and was starving to death.
Mm.
Could I figured, I mean, I knew that it was a scam, probably 98%.
Yeah.
But that 2%, could I leave this man I'd been talking to? If it was true, could I
Yeah.
allow him to die of starvation? And
Uh,
it was supposed to be a loan. That one was supposed to be a loan, and I was going to get it back, but I didn't. But the emotional, it's still, it's like an elephant in the room when I'm with my family because
mm.
they were hurt too, that I was hurt and that I had given away my money.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
I'll tell you, Shelby, I one of the first things I wanted to do was borrow money again to pay off my brother and sister because I didn't want them holding the bag on my stupidity.
Mhm.
And I was really happy that was finally approved, and that was a very difficult loan to get since I already had a second on the
Oh
house.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing because making people aware and getting this word out. I'm sure you've experienced it too. I mean, police department know very little about it. Most banks have never heard of pig butchering, or most of the employees are not aware of it.
Mhm.
Um, and especially vulnerable are people. I'm 65. 65 and over. They're especially vulnerable to this kind of thing. And so, getting the word out and like you're doing is really helpful. And I hope I can play a part in that as well.
Oh, I'm very happy to have all the help I can get, and I'm very happy to meet you. This story I haven't. This is, there's just a little bit something different in every story that you hear, and most of the time, they think that, oh, you met this person on the dating site, but I met that crypto guy on LinkedIn. It wasn't a dating site.
Yeah.
You got a package in the mail, which I've been hearing more and more. They even have boxes that look like Amazon Prime at your door, and you open them up and they're empty. I don't quite know where that person is going. I guess they expect you'll call Amazon and say, what happened to my, I don't know if you didn't even order anything. I don't understand that scam. But what was it, 2, 3 days ago, the AT&T computers had all been hacked, and anybody that has I don't know if you have heard this, but anybody that has an AT&T account needs to change their passwords, and
Uh,
because everybody involved with AT&T has had, what do you call it, been compromised.
well, Shelby, let me just go back for a minute. Let me just correct something. I
Oh,
actually
okay.
didn't get a package. It was just a message in trying to
Oh, yeah.
entice me to respond.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
I,
but what's really one of the things I learned I heard many years ago, Shelby,
Mhm.
is God doesn't waste experiences, and He's certainly not wasting yours in what you're doing. And you know,
Oh, well, God help me. Lord help me. We all need help. We all need help. And I'm trying to learn resilience and to help other people develop this resilience, learning to dance in the rain, overcome your grief by dancing, by not, by going on with your life.
yes, right.
There is life after a scam. And I have met somebody now who I do. It is a good relationship, a very good relationship,
Good.
and I that keeps me from being lonely.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you have met someone too.
Thank you.
I think I heard that in the conversation.
Yes.
So, okay, well, I thank you very much for telling your story here, and I thank you for your support. And I look forward to working with you on more on our committee, Operation Shamrock. I'm not real sure what all that's going to involve for either one of us in the future, but it looks good. People are growing knowledge. What are the three words? Disrupt. Disrupt is one of them. I can't remember. Seize, disrupt, and
blow up.
man, boy, I'll tell you. Oh, getting back to the beekeeper, I watched it alone one night when I saw that it was on, and I had to watch it. And so I told my boyfriend about it, and he's, oh yeah, I want to watch it. So I watched it a second time. Now he's blind, but he sat on the edge of his seat through the last half of that movie. And I told everybody, you got to go see The Beekeeper. I said, boy, I tell you, I wish I'd had a Superman to help me with my problem.
Yeah, really.
By the law can't do anything about it, but the beekeepers can, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my audience. I thank you all for being here for today too, to hear Jeff and his story. And I hope that we can provide value to your life and help change it for the better. Thank you very much. Next week, we're going to be learning about money and what to do with it when we suddenly are faced with being alone after being a couple for a big part of our life. So looking forward to that. Rebel, I think that we are finished, and I say goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday at noon.
All right. Thank you, Shelby.